Hello and welcome to Glassstire's 2022 Fall Preview. I am Brandon Zeck and it is the week of September 8th, 2022. Before we jump into the 6 shows that we picked for the Fall Preview, just to let you know, we brought on a couple guests who helped organize or who are involved with the fall shows that we picked. These are in no particular order. Thanks to everyone who came on and helped us talk about everything, and we're really excited for these shows. So I'll let us get to it. So one of our picks for our fall preview this year is the Guston Now show at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. I'm here right now with Allison DeLima Green, the wonderful curator of the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, who's organizing the Houston presentation and co-organized this entire exhibition.
Philip Guston's career spanned the mid-decades of the 20th century. He addressed the emergence of the Klan at the very beginning of his career in 1930. He was one of the great abstract expressionists. But it was the light paintings from 1968 on that I think engraved him into the history of art. He's a painter that other painters adore.
He really is a painter's painter. I've heard that from multiple artists, Houston and beyond.
The show here will be the first major Guston show in Houston. The exhibition is 113 objects at last count. That includes a suite of lithographs that Houston is the exclusive venue for. And most important, early works like The Bombardment, which was his cry from the heart about the bombing of Guernica, to the last self-portraits that are so poignant, so unforgettable. I'm the only person on the curatorial team who knew the artist. I did a studio visit with Philip Guston in 1975. I was 17 years old at the time, and I was tagging along with other people. And it blew me out of my socks. And I couldn't stop thinking about Guston. I wrote about him frequently thereafter. It was my great hope to have a Guston show. There were various reasons why finally this was the right moment for Houston. What I hope is that everyone walking into the show will have that sense of adventure and discovery that I felt in 1975 when Guston was still somewhat unknown. Those paintings weren't familiar, and he walked in the studio and they spoke to you urgently.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Perfect.
And check this out at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston this fall.
Hello, I'm William Saradet with Glasstire, and I'm here today at the Dallas Museum of Art in anticipation of the upcoming exhibition Matthew Wong, The Realm of Appearances, and I'm here today with Dr. Vivian Lee, the Lupe Murkison Curator of Contemporary Art.
Glad to be here with you, William.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us a little bit about this exciting upcoming fall exhibition.
So the show is the first U.S. museum exhibition of Matthew Wong, who tragically died in 2019 at the age of 35. And so the exhibition introduces the span of his 6-year career, which is very short, but actually very prolific.
And this is a painting show, correct?
Mostly paintings. There's watercolors and gouache too, and also ink paintings as well. He started painting in 2012, kind of starting more with charcoal, sketching, drawing. So he was very much a self-taught painter, just teaching himself and using what's very interesting, using social media, especially Facebook, to connect with all kinds of people in the art world.
And also, I believe that the Dallas Museum of Art is the only major museum to have collected his work.
Yes, during his lifetime, the DMA has the honor of being the only museum that collected his work, and that also has a very interesting story. He was just started to get represented by Karma Gallery in New York, and so Karma brought him to the Dallas Art Fair, which was his first U.S. art fair that he participated in 2017, and just Matthew's work was so stunning. 2017, he was not known. His mother, when I first met her, she also said he was in many ways a nobody. And so even at that time, we couldn't find too much information about him. So I think it's very important and very special that just on the strength of his work, that it was acquired. I'm very excited that people can see the works in person because his works are so textured, the surfaces are stunning. Definitely hope everybody comes and see these amazing paintings.
Absolutely. If you're in Dallas traveling or just thinking about it, consider visiting this free exhibition at the Dallas Museum of Art this fall.
Hi, I'm Jessica Fuentes with Glasstire.
I'm Carter Foster. I'm Deputy Director for Curatorial Affairs at the Blanton Museum of Art in Austin.
As a fan of Ellsworth Kelly's work, I live here in Fort Worth. I see his large-scale works at the Modern all the time. And recently I went down to Austin and spent some time with Ellsworth Kelly's Austin and wrote a piece for Glasstire about that. So when I saw this exhibition of postcards, which I'm imagining will be small works, I was really
Postcard
intrigued.
sized, yeah.
Yeah, really intrigued and excited to hear more.
Well, it is indeed postcard, and it's really postcard collages. He had a practice of making collages on postcards his whole career, really. So it's a really interesting, almost mini survey of his career in a certain sense. He did use actual postcards that he picked up while traveling. Sometimes he sent them to people, but he also made postcard collages that he didn't send to people. Altogether, there are about 400 known postcard collages by him. About 138, I believe, are in this exhibition. First one is from, I believe, 1948, and it goes all the way up to the last years of his career. So he really made them his whole career. And what's really interesting about them, I think for people that know Ellsworth Kelly's work, they'll be very recognizable as Ellsworth Kelly's. Kelly was an artist, although he was associated with abstraction, he pulled his work out of the observable world. So he very carefully observed nature and architecture and the built environment and would pull details out of that world, those world that he was observing to make the shapes that became his art. And so these postcard collages are kind of a combination of those two things. You'll have a Kelly-like shape or series of shapes on top of an image of the sea or of New York City or something like that. And so it's really, a direct illustration of the fact that he closely observed the world and combined those observations to make his own art.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm definitely looking forward to popping down to Austin to see the show.
I'm here with Robin K. Williams, the curator for the Contemporary Austin, to discuss the upcoming exhibition, In a Dream You Saw a Way to Survive, and You Were Full of Joy. The Contemporary Austin is the city's only museum dedicated solely to contemporary works. How does this group of artists on view approach contemporary issues, whether political or cultural?
The exhibition is really inspired by the social and political moment that we find ourselves in today, not only how we have emerged over the last 2 years, but really the ever tightening sort of political climate and Texas's location in the center of that. The contemporary artists in this exhibition are coming from a very broad range of perspectives. They're working in a really wide diversity of mediums, and they're addressing essentially a question of how narratives and storytelling shapes our senses of self, community, history, identity.
This show's title borrows from a Jenny Holzer work. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, Jenny Holzer is a very prominent conceptual artist and feminist artist who has been enormously influential in 20th century and 21st century art. She is a person who for decades now has really been creating art that critically assesses the forms of public discourse, including media and political speech, and addressing her work really in those political spaces through artworks very often that are positioned, on the streets, as billboards, as murals, as projections, as t-shirts. So with Jenny as a kind of inspirational touchstone, we're really thinking about that legacy and how contemporary artists are approaching those ambitions today. And also with the particular title of her work, In a Dream, You Saw a Way to Survive and You Were Full of Joy. It's really a thematic, a kind of current that underlines the many various ways that the artists in the exhibition are addressing the larger topic or the themes of structural inequities, implying survival, as well as tools of the imagination or dreams, and how those can shape different futures, more joyful and more equitable futures.
We're here at the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. I'm talking with John Rohrbach, the senior curator of photographs. John's upcoming show, Speaking with Light, Contemporary Indigenous Photography, is definitely on our list. This is something that, as a photographer, I was really excited to see, especially because historically the photographs that we see of Indigenous people tend to be created by non-Indigenous people. I was excited to see an exhibition that really focuses on artists who are working today, who identify as Indigenous, who are then able to document and tell their own stories of their own culture. John, what is so exciting for you about this exhibition, and what should our viewers know or be prepared to see?
Well, I'd like to start by first complimenting you, because you make a good point about the fact that historically most depictions of Indigenous Americans or Indigenous peoples wherever in the world are made by people who are outside those cultures. What we realized here at the museum is there was a major blossoming, in fact, a wave of Indigenous artists making work. And we decided to bring together that and share that blossoming. We have the great benefit of working with Will Wilson, who is a Dene photographer artist, a teacher, a curator who generously has agreed to work with me to co-curate the project. So it's really a team effort. But it's a team effort that extends even beyond us. We're extremely grateful for those artists who are being willing to work with us, and their goals to share with us visually their traumas, their anger, their frustrations, but also their joys and their connections to community and their hopes for the world. There are more than 70 works in the exhibition. They include everything from a basket to a number of large videos.
Okay, is there anything else that we should know about this show?
Come to the show, expect to be entertained and challenged. Some of you will walk out of the show in anger. Some of you will walk out of the show with fresh ideas about how to interact with our world.
And the final pick for this year's fall preview is the PhotoFest Biennial Exhibition, If I Had a Hammer. So the show will be opening September 24th. It'll be closing on November 6th. There's a whole lot of events around it, and here to help us understand everything around the show is Stephen Evans, the director of PhotoFest.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah,
If I Had a Hammer, it's themed around the way that artists respond to social and cultural movements and imaginaries, and also the way artists affect those things. And it's really a response to the times in which we're living. So thinking a lot about the politics and movements within society over the last 10 to 15 years really influenced this project, and it's been in the works for over 2 years now. So we're really, really excited about it. 23 artists in 2 big venues here in Arts District Houston, in Silver Street Studios and Winter Street Studios. And adding to that, we have our 10 by 10 exhibition of 10 artists chosen from our portfolio reviews over the last 2 years, and African Cosmologies Redux, which was cut short in 2020. So we're representing it here at Spring Street Studios, but also across the city at the Menil Collection, the Houston Museum of African American Culture, and the Alta Arts.
This is really an exciting fall. I mean, being able to represent the African Cosmologies, which was cut short in COVID in 2020, it's really nice that y'all are able to do that. And I mean, the ability for us to have 2 PhotoFest biennials on view at the same time in Houston really is a special thing.
I think in total, we're presenting the work of about 65 to 70 artists at PhotoFest, which is a lot. And
well, and everyone will be able to see all of the related events because there's a whole lot of other programming also. They can see that on your website, and also, will that be on the app?
That'll be on the app, which is going to be available through the website, and everything will also be in our little chapbook biennial guide, which you can get at selected biennial locations.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Stephen.
Thank you.
And that is it for this year's fall preview. There is plenty to see and do. Check out Glassstire's event listings where you can see all of the fall preview picks and everything else that's happening. We recommend you go see some art.
Yep, go see some art.